You're about to enter the world of Michael Zavala. Now's your chance to turn back.
Get in the Batcave, Michael.
Okay, yes.
Don't do Red Bull, do
Michael Zavala.
Cocoa or something.
You listening to MZ.
I can't hear you.
Wow, he's now he's innocent.
I'm just amazed at what you think about.
This is MZ Now.
Lucas, I know you because I bought your old Kermit the Frog.
Are you serious?
Yeah, so here's what happened.
From Terry Angus?
Yes. And
wow.
So I've always wanted one. In fact, I had reached out to Terry a few times, but it was just too expensive for me at the time, and you know, to get a brand new one. So I saw a Facebook post, and you were getting rid of his Kermit to upgrade to a newer one, a new, more screen accurate one, I think. And so I'm like, I got to get this. And so I reach out to you, and I don't know if this is a scam or not. You know, I'm like, this guy likes the Muppets, so maybe he's on the up and up. And so we went back and forth. I wrote a check. I think it was like $1,200 or something, which is probably, it's probably like half of what you paid for. Probably, I don't know. I don't know what you paid for, but
I went a little lower since it was not, you know,
super
it wasn't
screen.
through Terry. It's from
Yeah.
Well, and I had it for a few years. I still have photos from like the initial when I got when it arrived that day at my apartment.
That's well, I was sitting there. I'm like, are these photoshopped? Like, am I buying this from some scam? I'm never going to see this money. So I sent you the check, and then within like 2 weeks, I have a box arrived on my front porch, and it was Kermit the Frog, and it's sitting on my shelf at home.
Surprise!
Yeah. I was the one who bought it from you, and so now I'm like, so you have a Muppet collectors page, right?
Yeah. So I run a Facebook page called the Muppet Collection page. And I've been, as of March 26th, I'll have been running it for 10 years.
Incredible. That's
so the 10-year anniversary is coming up. Yep.
And what got you started with that? How did you get started with, I grew up a huge fan of the Muppets. I'll talk about my story, but you tell yours. How did you get started? What made you kind of fall in love with the Muppets?
Well, it's kind of the basic, very typical lifelong fan thing. Just, I was introduced to it at a young age. The big thing was my mom had gotten me this VHS tape of, it was like a best of the Muppet Show type thing they were doing back in the mid 80s. And I had one of the volumes. The volume I had was the Kermit and Piggy story. And I just burnt that tape up from watching it so much. So yeah, always been a fan. I kind of fell off the wagon a little bit around like 10, 11, like 12 years old. And then sometime around high school is when Time Life started releasing the DVDs of the Best of the Muppet Show. And at the same time, Palisades was making their Muppet figures for the first time. And when I saw obviously they're going to do Kermit, Piggy, Fozzie, and Gonzo first. But when I saw Dr. Teeth and Floyd and Crazy Harry, I was like, oh, okay. They're really wanting to do this properly. They wanted to do this the way, Star Wars creates deep cut characters in action figure form.
Right.
So, yeah, that was really where it kind of lifted off. And then in college, I started meeting Muppet fans online. I started getting VHS tapes of, the Muppet Show and Fraggle Rock. Always been a collector. I don't have everything from Palisades, but I got pretty much everything. My white whale is the white tuxedo Rolf. I'm kind of dying to get that at some point.
And how much would you, because I'm a big collector myself, I don't have a whole lot of Muppet stuff. I wish I did. I saw it when Palisades did all those toys. I remember seeing them in the store and going, boy, I would like one of those, and then never got one. But I have a lot of the Diamond Select figures. I've got your Kermit the Frog replica. I love that. I've got I got some cool stuff. I think I had some Muppet stuff around here too in the studio. But yeah, I'm a big collector myself. What would you estimate your collection to be, you think, if you had to put a dollar amount on it?
I have no clue. It's one of those things. I should probably find out the dollar value just for insurance purposes. But, God, I have no clue. Like, that Kermit puppet alone is a little over 1,000.
Yeah. Right.
And, he sits on a very special stool all on his own, like off away from the rest of the set. So nothing falls on him or anything. So, but yeah, as far as what the whole value, I have no idea, but maybe one day I'll figure it out.
So I became a Muppet fan, just, grew up with it, Sesame Street, Muppet, stuff like that. But I remember being a kid, probably 7 or 8 years old, fascinated with Puppet, and then would go to the library and I would get any book I could on Jim Henson, the Muppets, whatever. And I don't know why I was doing this. I don't know if I thought that maybe one day I'd be on a game show and I would be asked these trivia questions. I would go through and I would find the most interesting facts about Jim or Frank or whoever, and I would I would open up a little notepad on the computer, and I had a floppy disk saved with all these random Muppet trivia, and I would quiz myself on it. Like, what characters does Frank Oz do, or when was Jim Henson born, or whatever. Yeah. No idea why. I couldn't tell you any of this stuff today, but it was just something I would do. Anything with Muppets or Jim Henson, I had to read or get my hands on. So I was a huge Muppet fan, and now I'm just. There's a lot of great puppet builders online that I'm trying to meet, and hopefully one day there's a really awesome one that pops up that I got to be like, hey, I got to get a Gonzo from you, or I got to get a Fozzie or something. I'd love to have these little Muppets puppets eventually, but the Kermit is probably my prized possession, to be honest with you.
That's awesome. That's really cool, man. Well, heck, it's so cool because I got to be honest with you, I forgot who I sold it to.
Yeah, well, I follow your stuff. I know you're more probably a Muppet fan than I am, and because the other day I sent you photos of this guy who was creating a puppet, a replica, and I said, "What do you think about this guy?" And you go, you were critiquing it because you have a very keen eye on how these Muppets should look, and yours is very screen accurate, and you're just very good at that. So if I was going to buy anything, I'm going to send it to you first, say, hey, this is worth it. But
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. You've seen the original Kermit, right? I saw you like in a museum, and where was that at?
Oh yeah. Museum for sure. Like I've been to Leland, I've been to Atlanta, and I've been to New York City, and New York City probably has the most diverse because it's not just Muppets and Sesame Street. It's Fraggle Rock, Dark Crystal. Like they had the SNL. They had all the SNL puppets from the first season of Saturday Night Live. That one is the most diverse, but I want to say in terms of like the scale of what they have in their museum, Atlanta is probably just a notch above.
Well, I'm gonna have to try that out because I want to. You know what? At some point, I'm not a very crafty guy, but if I could get the measurements of some of these puppets and see what they actually look like in real life, maybe I could give a crack at it and maybe put some hot glue together and try to make my own little Muppet out of it.
One of the number one things when you're building a puppet, if you really want. The whole object of the puppet is to convince the person or people you're speaking to that they are as real as you can possibly get while also still, clearly understanding the fiction, is that when you are building it, the actual physical puppet, especially around the mouth, try your absolute best to avoid fabric folds. Like if it starts scrunching up in certain areas where corners meet or like where the mouth opens, you don't want too much fabric. Just the littlest things of like flattening out the fabric and stretching and, having the face as quote unquote clean as you can get. That's like the first thing. And look, it's trial and error. And I'm just going to tell you the honest truth. I've never built a puppet in my life other than, putting some styrofoam balls on a sock once.
Right.
Yeah, I was like in middle school. But, I couldn't tell you in terms of like patterns and measurements and stuff like that. All I can tell you from my just like what, you're feeding the audience. It is your best. I don't know. You need to give your best effort on making sure that the face is convincing as possible.
Right.
Sometimes one thing that I love learning growing up, and I'm sure you saw this in the books that you had, growing up, was that Jim had designed the Henson triangle, which is crossing the eyes just very slightly, because that way it provided a focal point for the camera. But that also works in real life. That gives it a focal point when you're talking to, somebody if you're a street performer, you're talking to people who are just like walking by. Like those are the kind of things like just having them just slightly crossed, because a lot of people do the thing where the eyes, the pupils just go straight out.
Right.
And so, little details like that. Even with like background characters, they still do it for like background characters just for the aesthetics and for the focus.
Yeah, I want to give it. I'm over here saying I want to do it. I don't think that I don't have the patience. Number one, and
Me neither, I hear you.
I would get so frustrated. There'd be 18 different ones in the trash can, and I'd spend $200 on materials and never use it. But there's so many talented people.
For people who are actually interested, it is trial and error. Like, it's not gonna, you're not gonna build Sweetums on your first go.
See, that's what I was trying to do that.
Well, like if you're a massive fan of the Muppets and you want to make your own characters, start with characters that have a much simpler look, and don't beat yourself up on the first run. Like, go for like a Robin. Robins are I would say probably Robin's the easiest one to like recreate for like starting puppeteers.
Yeah.
If they're wanting to make a Muppet puppet.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to, with Robin, it doesn't even have to be perfect. He can be his body can be a little off or whatever. As long as, like you said, the face looks good, it should be fine.
Yeah. Well, and even with Robin, like when he first started off, he was more of a lime green, and then he turned into more of an olive green, and Dr. Teeth kind of had the same thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, again, like it's your own thing. And the cool thing about that is when you start off as a puppet builder, you might be inclined to make Muppet puppets at first, but then the better you get at it, you're going to start developing your own characters.
Right.
I follow a couple of guys on Instagram who are just unbelievable builders. They're just really fantastic. A lot of details in the face. I love eyelids and eyebrows that move. I always think that's a cool thing that they put in.
Well, we're talking about Muppets, but it's a really incredible to see in 2026 them come back out with a new Muppet show, and it was like a test episode. And the first person I thought of as I was watching this, because following you as long as I have and knowing your critique of things, which I appreciate, and I love trying to stick to as close as the original characters as possible. I'm like that too. I want to know your thoughts on the Muppet Show on Disney Plus.
I thought they just did such a beautiful job. Like I was a little hesitant for a few weeks leading up to it when they had first announced it, and it was, Seth Rogen and all that. I was like, because this is kind of a Hail Mary move on their end.
Yeah.
If it doesn't go well, people are going to know immediately. They're going to know quick that this is not, because a lot of people, when you hear celebrities say, "Oh, I love the Muppet Show. I grew up with the Muppet Show." Unfortunately, you are not getting Jim and Frank and Jerry Nelson and Richard Hunt. These are, this is the new guard, and they are, God bless them, they're an insanely talented group of puppeteers, but there have been a lot of productions that just haven't done well.
Yeah.
And so I was a little nervous even after watching the opening, because it was so beautiful to see Kermit, flip the switch and the lights go on, and Beauregard polishing, the star, Pops asleep at the front door. Scooter kicking it off, Kermit kicking it off to Scooter. And it was, everything about it was just so well done. And something I really love, because yes, you see a lot of our favorite characters, but it's all in the small details, right? The
Yeah.
big thing I really noticed, there were monsters, chickens, rats, pigs, you know, crashes, bad jokes, just those little things that they made sure, like, hey, this is what this is. This is supposed to look like a group of failed performers trying really hard to put on a show.
Right.
And that's part of its charm.
Yeah, I agree. I'm very critical. I'm a big Star Trek fan, and Star Trek right now is not in the best place. And I'll sit there and I'll critique just about everything I watch. And I'm like, this could have been done better. This could have been done better. We should, we're missing the original heart of some things here and there or whatever. So I'm watching the Muppet Show with that eye of, I've seen every episode of the Muppet Show. I grew up on the movies, and let's see, I've also seen these failed productions that have been going on. And so I was very nervous as well. And I saw the reviews come out, and it was like, it had 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. And I'm like, we'll see.
Yes, even that, I was the same way. We'll see.
And at the end of it, I had no notes. There were no notes. I was like, they did a great job. Now, my concern is, I think it went so well that it will probably get a full season, which these days are like 5 episodes, 8 episodes. But
yeah, I think we're looking. I'm only guessing. I don't know. I'm guessing maybe they'll do 6, maybe up to 8 more.
Yeah,
a year. The good news is, like, if this gets greenlit, and I'm pretty sure it will, I think they have so much to work with, because they didn't do a Pigs in Space. They didn't do a Vet's Hospital or a Swedish Chef segment. They actually threw in a brand new segment, Pigs with Wigs. And I was like, that's kind of ballsy for them to go with some. Well, there's a couple of big chances they took.
Yeah.
And it really worked out. One of the biggest things, as everyone knows, Steve Whitmire, who performed Kermit for almost 30 years, got fired a while back, almost 10 years ago now.
I know. It feels like almost 2 years ago, doesn't it? And it's almost been 10.
I know, right? That's how long Matt Vogel's been doing Kermit now. But anyway, so this guy who's a Kansas City native, Matt Vogel, he got selected to perform Kermit. And, it's always been people's take on his version of Kermit has been, pretty up and down. And to a fair degree, kind of accurate from the fans' perception of things. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But it's funny because, he may never sound exactly like Kermit, but I'll tell you what, in this Muppet Show episode, he sure as hell acted like Kermit.
See, I'm so glad that you brought that up, because that was going to be my next thing, which is I've been very critical of the Matt Vogel voice. I think he does a fantastic, characterization of Kermit, but I think the voice always throws me off, especially being Constantine, and it's a whole thing. So and I'm like, is there nobody? I mean, go on TikTok and you find somebody who could do a better voice than Matt. I feel like, but I will agree, this is the best performance of this felt like Kermit. The voice sounded maybe slightly off, but Kermit interacting with the different characters felt and sounded like Kermit to me. I totally agree. I think the things that we've been critiquing have been where Kermit is just mostly speaking to the camera, and Matt is not playing off of anybody, or very little, But I think with Matt playing off of Eric and all these other guys and gals, I think it really worked, and I got lost in it. It was Kermit to me. So I thought they did a beautiful job.
Well, and something else that it took the second time I watched it that I noticed is that Bill Barretta, who does Pepe, he now does Swedish Chef and Rolf and Dr. T and Bobo. One thing I really loved about this special, and there was no fine point to it, Rolf kind of acts like this anchor for Kermit, which in a weird way is like Bill Barretta saying to Matt, like, hey, you got this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he does that in the cold open when he's playing the piano. And he does it again when they sing Don't Stop Me Now. Because Kermit starts singing, and then it's the Rolf's piano that, revs up the encouragement and gets everybody from the wings to join in. And I thought it was such a smart way because Muppet fans know how highly regarded Bill Barretta is.
Yeah.
And with good reason. He's been there since Treasure Island. And, that was his first movie he did, but he did a couple other things previous to that. But, yeah, I think just that, and then the recasting of Rizzo when he did Blinded Lights by the Weekend. My first thought, I'm sitting there watching it, I was like, "Oh, Rizzo's singing!" Like, they're doubling down on this.
Yeah, and the guy, he's I'm in Texas. He's the guy's, I think, a San Antonio native. I've reached out to him, so hopefully I'll get to meet him one day. But incredible job. He did. Again, these guys aren't going to sound exactly like we remember, especially, being as critiquey as we can be as fans.
Yes.
But I think overall we can get used to it and we're with it. I mean, I think it's great. I think they did a fantastic job. I really wish I could say, boy, I wish they would have, some people are complaining about the adult jokes, but we're like, did you not see the original Muppet Show? I mean, it had the same thing.
Yeah, no. In the first season alone, there's plenty of stuff. It's like, oh, they are really separating themselves from Sesame Street here.
Yeah. Like I remember trying to show my nephew the Muppet Show. He was like, a baby, but you're kind of heightened since at that point you just don't want them to see certain things. And I had noticed things during watching the first season of the Muppet Show that I had never known or paid attention before because I wasn't, it didn't bother me. But when you're sitting there with a little kid, you're like, oh, maybe this isn't as kid friendly as I remember. It was all stuff that went over their head, of course, but you notice that. But that's what it's for, is prime time for adults, and kids could also enjoy it as well. And I think they really captured that spirit. My concern is now that as we move forward and it gets this full episode, do we have the comedy writers on staff to make this thing work and carry this quality throughout, the seasons? I don't know. I hope we do, but
I am certainly hoping so. It seems like everybody was, at least with what we saw, it seemed like everybody was on the same page. Again, they were setting themselves up as this is going to be the Muppet Show. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, again, back to the Blinding Lights thing, they had Yolanda dress up as a street hooker. I was like, that is hilarious.
Yeah.
Like, my new comedy hero is whoever designed a 6-inch street hooker outfit for a puppet rat.
Right.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. It didn't feel like they were trying to copy anything. It felt like,
no,
we're going to take this framework and we're going to make it our own. Because that's the argument I have with a lot of people these days, especially when talking about Star Trek or, legacy shows or characters, is I'm like, they lose some of the heart of it and they kind of do something different. And some people go, well, why can't certain shows grow, or why can't shows change?
Yeah.
And they can, as long as you keep the heart, the foundation. And I feel like this is a great example of that. It's they did their own thing, but it's still the heart, the framework that Jim and Frank and all these guys worked so hard to build. And I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah. Well, and one thing I hope fans understand is that what they really needed to do for this episode, and they don't have to do it going forward, is that they packed it with all these characters, even if they didn't have like a line, even if they weren't in the forefront, you at least saw them. But that is not typically what happens in a Muppet Show episode. You don't always see Swedish Chef. You don't always see Crazy Harry, in every episode.
And Sal.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like if you listen, there's one point when Scooter's passing by, everybody's complaining. It's like Link and Marvin Suggs and Sal, all three of them, I can kind of pick out what they were trying to say.
Yep.
And I was like, well, that's cool. Like, I don't know. I don't think Brian Henson is a part of this. The closest performer's voice I can see doing that might be David Rudman, who does Janice and Scooter and Miss Poogie and a few others.
Can I ask you what you think about, I think, after Jim died, there were maybe a couple of people who tried to do Dr. Teeth or Ralph, and it didn't sound very good. It sounded like me trying to do the impression, but then when Bill took over, at least we're, Dr. Teeth and Ralph and everybody, it's almost identical. I don't really have a whole lot to say. I just remember watching something with Dr. Teeth, and I remember thinking, who do they have? Who's this guy? I didn't know it was who it was at first, and I thought it was almost like I couldn't tell the difference technically between maybe Jim's and the new version. And I think it's just because Bill did such a fantastic job. It's the closest Muppet, I think, to the original. I think.
I totally agree with you. I've always been very impressed with Bill Barretta. Like, his Swedish Chef is pretty amazing.
Yes.
Dr. Teeth, what's really great, because this is kind of the hard lesson that some surface level Muppet fans have trouble understanding, is that the voice is only a certain percent of it. You have to really have the personality. And one of the biggest distinctions in that you can give to people who aren't fans of this voice or that voice is that you look at Bill Barretta, how wild he gets with Dr. T, and then switch him over, watch him do Rolf, and just how laid back and just subtle, and just the performance of it all is way dialed down in comparison to Dr. Teeth. They both play the piano, but it's not just their voice, but it's their attitude and style. It's, there's a lot of things that go into keeping the authenticity of these characters. And I think Bill Barretta, bar none, has the best concept of what that really means.
Yeah. No, I think so. And then he goes up and does Pepe, and then just a totally different. And also, the great thing about these performers that you don't realize is when they do these interviews or, they're kind of off the cuff, how quick they are and how they can just do that in character. Like you said, he can pick up Dr. Teeth or Rolf or Pepe and in a second switch and still go off the cuff with those characters. He's incredible.
Well, and this is where the hard work turns into magic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where it's a lot of, first of all, you're putting your hand up for hours on end for a character. You're putting every bit of acting that you have into your right hand and a little bit into your left. Then you got to pair that with these people who have tremendous improv skills. These guys are very good at off the cuff stuff. Bill, Matt, Eric Jacobson, like those guys are pretty good. I've seen them in interviews. There have been some interviews they've done and be like, okay, I see it.
Yeah.
It's not just that they can do the voice. It's that they understand what it's like to step in the shoes of this character.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep. Can I ask you what you thought about the what was it, the 2011 show, or whatever it was, the Office mockumentary show?
Yeah. So, which, by the way, you're kind of touching on something that was kind of a meh thing where everything was labeled as the Muppets, whether it was a movie or a TV show. But yeah, that 2015 show, it's a shame they didn't get more time to feel it out, because I want to tell you something, and I say this every time they start a new Muppet production. I'm not the biggest fan of this first season of the Muppet Show.
Yeah.
What I really love about the Muppet Show in season 1, though, is the music. The music from the very, start, whether it was a popular song or a song they did on their own, like they just, this goes into, the Rizzo number and the Kenny Rogers and Dolly Parton number. Like there's respect for the song and doing the song well, but then having fun with the song.
Yes.
Like just throwing in little things, like Crazy Harry during the Man-Child number. I loved seeing Crazy Harry operating the fan.
Yes.
Like just little details. If you can put those little things in, like I love the Islands in the Stream number because you got snakes and plants and fish, like all singing along, and you just buy it. It's very silly. The song is very charming, and everything put together just looks tremendously beautiful.
Have you ever thought about reaching out to, the Muppet headquarters and ask like, hey, can I be a consultant, or can I work with you guys or help, do something with it? Have you ever thought about that, or have you reached out to anybody?
Many times, sir. Many times. Yeah, no, I don't think that would be a lot of fun because I'm somebody uh I tend to side with Frank Oz a lot, and because the reason why I saw this documentary when I was like 9 or 10 years old called "The World of Jim Henson,"
Uh-huh.
and it was like 4 or 5 years after Jim died, and Frank talks a lot about the real work that goes into what they do, and that it takes years for them to, first of all, learn the craft, secondly, to learn the improv skills, thirdly, to hone a character. And, on top of that, you have to be able to put all these things together when you're, doing a song or you're working next to a guest star, like this is what's so cool right now for people seeing the Muppet Show taking off again, is that the people who are watching are saying like, this isn't even like cartoons.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like these are, in the real world puppets where you have to, I don't think a lot of people think about, you have to think about where the puppeteers have to be in order to have Kermit sit up inside of a boat playing the banjo.
Right.
Like there's so many little details, and not a whole lot of room is given to these puppeteers when they're in the middle of operating, a scene, whether it's a song or an act or whatever. There's, it's a shame that this doesn't get enough credit. I don't think
Right.
the world gave like really hardworking puppeteers.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. I tell you the one thing that my only gripe, and that's not about the Muppets, the Muppet Show. My only gripe on modern day Muppet stuff, in my opinion, I don't know why this just irritates me, and hopefully they fix it moving forward. Is when they have a Muppet movie, used to be it was Kermit the Frog, they were the stars, right?
Yeah.
Now it's the human actor is the star, and then it's Matt Vogel, Kermit the Frog, or Eric Jacobson,
Yes.
Miss Piggy, and it kind of takes away from that magic. I don't know if it's some sort of SAG-AFTRA thing that they have to do that, or what.
Well, it could be that, but I think it's a collection of things because, for example, the Jason Segel movie in 2011.
Yeah.
If you go back and watch it, there's a good, I'd say the first half hour, save for that nightmare Walter has, it's just Walter with Amy Adams and Jason Segel.
Right.
There's not a Muppet for at least close to 20 minutes, maybe a half hour. I'm not sure, but kind of around there. And then, cut to this show that just came out. Kermit's looking to trim the fat from the show, and Fozzie sees Seth Rogen in the wings. And I love that because it's like, we know you helped us out here. Go take a seat. We're taking the wheel.
Right. Yeah.
So that's what they've needed to do for a long time, where you need to get back to where the Muppets have the top billing, like you say.
Yeah. And it's not Matt Vogel as Kermit. It is Kermit the Frog. You can put Matt Vogel in the end as a puppeteer, but it is Kermit the Frog,
Yes.
That's the only thing that I've noticed with new Muppets. And by the way, I went back and I watched the 2011 movie on a plane like two months ago. And I remember liking it when it came out. I didn't like some of the music. I didn't like, I had my critiques, but, I remember overall liking it. But watching it now, like, kind of fresh eyes, because it's been a while, I remember thinking like, boy, this movie isn't that as good as I remembered it being. Like, it could have been a lot better,
Well, and I was kind of the same way. Like, I had rose-colored glasses when I had seen it because the third act is all about the Muppet Show.
Right.
And that was really good. And here recently I read this book. Give me a second. I'll pull it out.
Okay.
It's this book by Jonathan Melville called Rainbow Connections. And in it, there's a ton of excerpts from different people who've worked with Jim, maybe 30 years before he had passed away. And Bill Barretta talks, he goes, Muppets Most Wanted went a little bit better, but the unfortunate thing with the 2011 movie is that we were starting to see all these celebrities telling us, oh, we love the Muppets, we want to work with the Muppets, but what people think the Muppets are and what they really are sometimes two different things.
Right.
and the writing and some of the characters, like Walter. Walter was almost. I don't want to say necessarily evil because I don't think he's a bad character. I don't dislike him, but I also kind of feel like with Walter, we got dangerously close to Sesame Street.
Yeah. Yeah, I see that.
And, that's been one of my biggest gripes with the Muppets in, the last 30 years is, it almost feels like Sesame Street brought to you by Disney.
Yeah.
And what we really need is, we need these Muppets we need these moments where Sabrina Carpenter tells Kermit she loves kinks.
Yeah.
Or, Yolanda dresses as Streetwalker. You need funny moments where it's like, okay, let them be a little irreverent. Let them have a little bit of that zip that The Simpsons had all throughout the 90s.
Yep. Which is kind of what Frank Oz has been saying this whole time. Like these aren't
100%.
sweet and cuddly creatures. They're rebels and they're a little wacky and those kind of things.
Well, that's what. Again, going back to why I always refer to Frank Oz in terms of how things should be set up and how they should be written and everything. He has said in one of my favorite interviews, the Muppets' job is to say, and can I cuss on here, by the way?
Sure, go ahead.
He says the Muppets' jobs, their job is to say, F Disney.
Yeah.
He goes, we are not, he goes, I like pejorative cute things. He goes, I love little puppy dogs, I love, toddlers running around, whatever. He goes, but the Muppets are not, he goes, they're too sweet.
Right.
They're supposed to be rebels. They're supposed to be, I think Jerry Jewell, who, my gosh. So when I describe Jerry Jewell to people, I say Jim was the brain of the Muppets. Jerry Jewell was the heart.
Yeah.
And because he understood, especially on the Muppet Show, every character on the Muppet Show is connected to a chain, and that chain gets pulled back and forth, left and right, depending on the friction that character has with the other character. And then Kermit is the one, because of how he operates the show, he's the one dictating where the chain goes, by the end of the episode.
Yeah.
So it's supposed to be like a comedy of errors play where nothing's really supposed to be going right. But, by the skin of their teeth, the show ends up looking great, being very memorable. The guest stars even had some, they had tremendous moments. Linda Ronstadt, Elton John, Lou Rawls, like all these people who are just, I can't think of any other place besides Sesame Street.
Right.
Where these celebrities popped in and, because I didn't know them from anything. So that was like my education into music. It was my education into comedy and into movies. Like, it was the way that the Muppets kind of shed their skin, for lack of a better term, and their interaction with like a John Candy on Sesame Street or who else? Alan Arkin or Dudley Moore on the Muppet Show.
Yeah.
Where, yes, of course you are talking to a puppet. But if the writing is that good, and Jerry Jewell is a phenomenal writer, and if the puppeteering and the characters were that good, you're not going to have a problem interacting with them.
Yeah. Exactly.
By the way, I do want to ask you, what were some of your highlights from the show the other day?
I would say the beginning part was my favorite, only because I enjoy that whole taking the curtain off. Imagine like an old house, right? Let's say the X-Men house or something, and they take the curtain off stuff and the dust is blowing and they just turn everything back on. To me, that always gives me goosebumps.
Yes.
I would say the end with Kermit singing with Sabrina Carpenter and then Miss Piggy comes in. That was really great. I love seeing all the little characters that you didn't see on the Muppet Show, but you saw maybe on Muppets Tonight show up and do those kind of things. I just liked all those little moments. There wasn't like a standout bit that I enjoyed because, like you, I remember hearing everyone. I was born past the Muppet Show, and so when I would hear everyone talk about the Muppet Show, I got to go because I think I was introduced to the movies first, and then went back and watched the Muppet Show later. And much like you, I didn't get it. At least for me, I didn't get the Muppet Show season 1. Like I got the jokes, I got the whatever, but I didn't understand. It wasn't mind blowing for me, maybe because I started with the movies. And they were still figuring out these characters on the Muppet Show. They weren't fully fleshed out characters season 1.
Yeah.
So, but then as I got, season 2 and 3, I really started to get it. And I feel like, there wasn't ever one really good bit or really one good moment. I just like the overall feel of it. And same thing with the show. I think it was just how you start the show is like how you take off with the plane, and then how you land it is important. And I think they stuck both, the takeoff and the landing, and it gave me goosebumps.
Well, the charm is in their failures.
Yes.
Right. The charm is really when things aren't working out, or when Kermit's too overwhelmed, or something goes wrong in the middle of a number. It is really when they're failing and struggling that they really succeed the most.
Yes.
In a very odd way. And no other group of characters do that. Not Looney Tunes or Simpsons, because the Simpsons is more ensemble, but because these are real life puppets, there is the added element that this is, in our real world, and that I love it when they sell you on the fact that they exist in our world.
Yeah.
When they can pull that off, that's when the production starts to get its feet.
Yep. And I think, like I said, they nailed it. And if Seth is a part of this, and this was his, let's say he built the framework for this one, I hope they can maybe count on him to produce new movies and things. If they can keep this feel, I think the Muppets have a very strong. I mean, it was cool to see on Threads or Instagram, and all these people who have never really watched the Muppets watch this on the other night, and they were all loving it. I mean, people that may not be Muppet fans, and now they get it. Like I'll walk around with a shirt like you, a Muppet shirt on, and people go, "Oh yeah, I remember watching that when I was a kid." You should be watching it now. It's still relevant. It's not. This isn't Sesame Street, and so I think this was a great way to reintroduce people to the Muppets, and I hope that they can continue it on. Nothing against Jason Segel. I think they did a good in 2015 or 2011, whenever that came out. I thought it was good at the time, but I feel like this really hit it home. This is truly what it is. This had the heart of the Muppets. The Muppets are like the Animaniacs, right? They're kind of running wacky, and they're loony, and they're going everywhere, but at the end of the day there's still a heart to it, and I think they do a really good job. I mean I just keep saying that because I had no notes, and if you know me, I have notes about everything. You show me something, I'm like, it was good, but here's what I had no notes. There was nothing that I could have been in that writer's room and say, how about this? I would have been a detriment. I would have been a detriment to the writer's room. How about this? And they would have listened to me, and it would have been worse. I think they did a great job. Well, I hope you get to work with the Muppets at some point, because you know a lot.
Nice, I certainly admire what they're doing, even up to now. Because even when the show or the special or the movie doesn't land, I still respect the fact that is tremendously hard work.
Yes.
But again, I hope this piques a lot of people's curiosity, and not only enjoying the show, but really learning how they're able to put that together. Because it's hard work, you know what I mean?
Oh, trust me.
A lot of little nuts.
When I was a kid,
nuts make a jar of peanut butter.
Yeah. When I was a kid, I was like, you know what? I'm going to learn how to do puppetry, and I'm going to work for Jim Henson. I think he might have been dead by that point, but I went to work for the Jim Henson company. I'm going to work for the Muppets. What I said. And I would do puppetry at church or whatever, right? Within 30 seconds, my arm's falling off. It's not for me. You know what I mean? It's tremendous work just to hold that puppet up for, a 15-minute interview on Fallon or something. People don't realize how much work it is.
Oh yeah. And when you see somebody like Kermit or Piggy on Fallon, and they're sitting in their chair, you have to understand that puppeteer is squished down in there. It ain't comfortable.
Right.
And he's still selling the fact that these are real guests on their show.
Yep. So, I think this is the first time that I have hope, because I was going to do this whole rant a few months ago about, why doesn't Disney just spin off the Muppets and sell it to somebody else who will do something with it? Because they obviously are just making the money off the merchandise and nothing with production. And, we're just wasting time. And, this is just an IP that they're not interested in. So get rid of it. But this is the first. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no. I was just going to say sadly, that's been the biggest problem, because the Disney execs haven't been listening to the Puppeteers. In that same book I was showing you, by Jonathan Melville when it comes to Bill Burr's chapter. He talks about how they didn't want to do an Up Late with Miss Piggy show and behind the scenes with all that. They wanted to do the Muppet Show, but have a camera crew showing the behind the scenes of how the show is put together with the characters, and then that way they can still do like Pigs in Space or a funny number, like a musical number on a popular song.
Oh, that would have been great.
That's what he wanted to do, and then you got, however way it went, it ended up being this Up Late with Miss Piggy talk show, and it got canceled after one season. There were okay things about it, but I kind of also feel like they're finally at a point where this is really good for them. Like doing the Muppet Show is good for them.
Yes, and I this is the first time I have hope in what's going on, and I'm glad that over the past couple of years I've been giving Bill a lot more like writing and, hey, you take the helm on this and do this special. And he's been, he knows the Muppets, and then also Dave. Like I don't know Dave, who for those who don't know is Gonzo and Dr. Bunsen Honeydew, and he's been with the Muppets since day one. Does he doesn't direct anything or write anything, I don't think, but he probably has his own ideas, and he's one of the original guys there. Is he in the book as well? Does he talk about?
He's not in the book, but you know what's funny? It does say Volume 1 on the book. This guy wants to do other interviews with Muppet people.
Well, we got to get him to do it.
I totally agree, and it's so fascinating because it's people from the Jim Henson Hour, the Storyteller, Fraggle Rock, the Muppet Show, like all these different people who worked on the live action Ninja Turtles movie.
Yeah.
Like, it's really fascinating. And I think I would love to see Dave Goelz in the next chapter.
Dave, I just wanted to know what he thinks about all these things, seeing the Muppets where he is. It feels like he loves the work so much. He's just not going to rock the boat. You know what I mean? Right. Like, hey, I'm going to play Gonzo in this. Great. I love the character. I love the Muppets. But you don't hear much from him as far as what he thinks about certain, maybe the political climate of the Muppets in certain, years or whatever.
Right.
And I'd love to hear his side.
This is what I really admire about Dave Goelz is that he is tremendously loyal to the man who hired him 50 plus years ago.
Yeah.
And he has decided, and I wish Frank had done this too, but I kind of get Frank's point a little bit. He has decided to stay loyal to the Muppets to the very end. Like he will retire, at some point from doing Gonzo and Bunsen and Zoot and Beauregard at some point. But the fact that he has been this loyal for this long, like that's not nothing. That's, that's a tremendous amount of love and gratitude towards somebody who gave him a life he certainly did not expect. He was working at IBM in California,
It's just a young puppeteer, right? He wasn't like...
he wasn't even a puppeteer because I think he got started building puppets. Because I believe Jim built the first Gonzo, and then Dave built the second one. In the second season, Gonzo has his eyelids that raise and lower.
Yeah,
I believe that was from Goelz, and he's just somebody. He even said when they were doing his first gig was a Muppet Valentine special. And he was terrified because he was going into the office because they had to sing. And Jim, he goes, I was in the elevator with Jim, and he goes, "Oh, this is one of my favorite days of working with the crew because we just sing and get silly all day long." And Dave goes, "I was terrified the entire day. I did not want to sing. I'm not a singer." And he goes, "I went in there, we recorded the songs." He goes, "I've never had more fun in my life."
That's incredible.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about, kind of the behind the scenes a little bit with Frank and Disney and all that. I wish Disney and Frank could come to some sort of agreement. I know he won't probably, be Miss Piggy or Fozzie, but it would be nice to have him as a consultant or a director or a writer for some of this stuff. And I know he loves the Muppets too. I know he really does. Yeah. And which is why there's this kind of standoff right now because, but I would hope that we could see one more Frank Oz production or at least a consultant or something like that for these guys. And I'm sure some of these Muppeteers would love to have them back, part of the team as well.
Well, and a big thing too is that because Frank Oz is the purist that he is, uh, he is admitted on his own that he is difficult to work with. Like, he's been difficult to work with in the past, starting from the Muppet Show.
Yeah.
And, he's talked about when they did Muppets Take Manhattan, he goes, the gang hated me. He goes, I was a director and I, did take after take. He goes, I really tested some friendships when we made that movie. But because Frank is such a purist and because he knows how it works, I honestly think the absolute best thing I think most people would love to see is Frank Oz and Seth Rogen getting together, along with Dave Goelz and Bill Barretta, and whoever else might, from the old guard might want to help out.
Yeah.
Like, okay, if we're gonna do this, first of all, it's 50 years since they first did the show,
Right.
So this is a good as time as any to bring the show back. Secondly, you need to make sure you are working. If you're going to have a team of writers, because really all they had was Jerry Jewell back then. If you're going to work with a team of writers, and everybody needs to be on board with what it means to be authentic to all these characters, what it means to not have them be so sweet and overly cheerful, and let's sing Rainbow Connection at every chance we get.
Right.
I'm not going to lie to you. I'm pretty sure playing a song over and over is a form of torture in some some countries.
Right.
It got to be a lot for me. I couldn't watch it anymore.
Yeah.
But that's what they need to do. They need to all, if they're going to work together, then they need to make sure their ultimate goal is still be on the same page.
Yep.
And it's not easy, especially with Disney in charge.
Right. I feel like, though, I don't know. I have no inside knowledge whatsoever yet. I hope to get in there, get some sort of inside knowledge. But I feel like the grip, the creative grip Disney has had on the Muppet Studio, I think is slowly starting to loosen. And I think hopefully they learn, if you just listen to these guys who know what they're doing, who know these characters better than anybody else, and the projects they want to do, I think it's going to be okay. And they're going to get a better return on their investment, I think.
Well, you don't have to put, Nerf siding on all the coffee tables.
Right. Exactly. Let these guys bang things up a little bit.
Yeah. Let it look gritty. Let it look lived in. Let people, fuck up a little.
Yep.
In terms of the characters and like the stories in the episode.
Yeah.
Like, let people, my thing is, I don't find the charm in them singing Rainbow Connection. I find the charm in Kermit trying to sing a song and clearly being nervous and then getting that boost of support from Rolf in the orchestra pit.
Yep.
That's real charm and love right there.
Exactly.
That comes across where you can, open up the curtain in a big way, have all these characters singing together. That's when you realize that, they fight with each other, but they fight for each other even more.
They're a family. And that's what made Rainbow Connection in the original movie so powerful. And that's what made, Muppets Take Manhattan at the very end when they came together. Those moments of when they come together, it's not just throwing the song out there. It wasn't just a song on itself. Right. It was what was behind it and how it all came to. That's what it was all about. I
totally agree. Because again, it's you don't have to hit people over the head with emotions. They can pick it up. There are things. This is what I loved about Fraggle Rock. There are things you're going to learn that you didn't realize you learned.
Yeah, you're exactly right. You're exactly right.
Yeah. No, I have faith in them. I just the one thing I will say also is for the fans, I hope they realize that yes, you may have seen your favorite characters in this episode, even if they were in the background, but that should not be the case for every episode. They don't litter the background with every single character you've ever known in every episode of the Muppet Show. That they very seldom had that many characters backstage.
Yep. Yeah, it's usually a more, it's not as chaotic back there. They wouldn't be able to get a show done every week if it was that chaotic.
Well, and it is good for the up-and-coming puppeteers who are working on their show to get some screen time and get some education in. But ultimately, you have to know how this theater works. This is vaudeville at a time when vaudeville could not be more irrelevant.
Right. That's true.
So, and that's kind of what needs to be remembered going forward. And I do think Seth Rogen has a pretty good idea of how this runs, because I got to admit, because I know Jason Segel and Seth Rogen, they're all buddies with like Judd Apatow because they did Freaks and Geeks together. I was a little nervous about him taking the reins on this.
Yep.
So
I was too. When I saw the name, I'm like, I don't know if that's the guy, but it turns out, it was a delight. All right, Lucas, where can we find? So I want to know, where can we follow you on, maybe social media, your collectibles page, which
Sure.
is huge, by the way. You have a lot of followers on Facebook.
Thank you. Yeah, you can follow me on Facebook. It's the Muppet Collection page. And we showcase everything from, beach towels, books, bookmarks, lunch boxes, night lights, anything you can imagine that the Muppets have, any kind of Muppet merchandise, we've, showcased at one point or another.
And are these all from your own collection, by the way, or is this all like just pictures that you find? I know some of it's from your collection, but
a good chunk of it is from my collection. If it's not from my collection, it's from another fan who wants to show what their collection looks like. The only time I get something online, if it's a new thing coming down the pipeline where they can go to the website and buy it. Because if I can't take pictures of it yet, then I just go ahead and use whatever's on the website.
Well, I'm a big NECA fan.
Yes.
And I know
Let's talk about that for a sec.
They got the license now, and I can't wait. I cannot wait.
I totally agree. And it looks like Kermit, Fozzie, and Gonzo are going to be the first three.
And I'm buying them straight off the bat. I mean, I also, one of the things that really got me to NECA back in the day was they did these giant figures, these 12-inch figures or 14-inch, whatever they are. They did it with Batman. They got Ninja Turtles. I've got all those at the house. I don't think we have any NECA here, but so I really hope I guess they don't sell very well because they don't do very many of those. But I hope they will do that with the Muppets. I think that would be so cool to have a 15-inch Kermit the Frog.
Oh yeah. Well, so what I think they're going to do, because the Sesame Street line, I think it's doing okay. I think they were hoping it would sell better than what it's selling right now. So that's why there's a number of new characters that we're going to do from Sesame Street. I know for sure I wanted to get Harry Monster because it's right next to Jim Henson.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite performer of the Muppets is Jerry Nelson.
Yeah, 100%.
And they were doing because they did count, which the figure. It's funny, all three of those Sesame ones that NECA did look like the Puppets, especially, and they got better. Ernie was good, Bert was great, the count was perfect.
Yeah. See, I don't have any of the Sesame Street yet, but I need to get on those because I saw the Big Bird coming out. I really want to get that.
Yeah, he is coming out here, I think, in the next month or so. And then, I think they're going to try and do some new things with the next wave of Sesame Street figures. But I do think with the Muppets being, where they're at right now, those are really going to sell well. One thing I'm really hoping for, I want an interchangeable head of Kermit with his angry face.
Yeah, that would be. You know what they're going to do? They're going to give you, they're going to sell you the one, and then 6 months later you're going to get the Muppet variety pack accessory box, for another $100. But you guess what? I'm buying it. I'm going to buy. Yeah. And you know what they're so good at. I have a lot of their Ninja Turtle line. They're probably going to do some sort of Muppet Theater diorama. They're probably going to do all of that stuff. If they're going to do what they do with the Ninja Turtles, it's going to be incredible.
Well, I do have a few of those Ninja Turtle ones, and they are beautiful.
Yes. I've got the cartoon ones and then the movie versions. Oh, and wow. I got too many. I had to stop collecting Ninja Turtles because I'm running out of space. And I used to my name's Michael, so I always collect the Michelangelo. I relate to him more. But sometimes you got to buy all four. And so I have too many Ninja Turtles. But I gotta stop. I have a problem. I have a collecting problem.
Well, I kind of have that too, because I have, because I used to skip on the exclusives of the Palisades Muppet ones.
Yeah.
And then I, started having that. I was like, oh, I wish I would have gotten it then. So if they get to the point where they can make the backstage, that is absolutely awesome because it's going to be even bigger than the one that they did for Palisades.
Yep.
But my God, am I going to need a new room?
Yeah. I think this year we're building out, our studio, we're building it a little bit bigger. This one will stay the same, but we're going to have hopefully some extra rooms here later this year. And it's mostly, I'm excited about it, mostly so I can put my stuff somewhere else. You know what I mean? I got too much stuff and I'm like, oh boy, I have another place to put shelves. That's all I'm thinking about.
Well, you know what's funny, and I hope there's no Star Wars fans listening to this, but I'm considering getting rid of some of my Star Wars stuff, some, not all, to make room for some more Muppet stuff. Because honestly, that's where my heart goes into in terms of, just collecting, like not even in, thinking about my own page. That's just what I love to collect.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's something about like I have a lot of Muppet stuff in my studio room at the house. And there's something about like, if I'm stuck on an idea cause again, just like you, a lot of the comedic stuff that I've gotten over the years or just creative ideas come from Muppet properties. And I'll look around the room and I have a lot of Muppet stuff too. Not near as much as you do, but I'll look around the room and I'll see maybe that Kermit puppet you sold me. And I'll go, you know what? Something clicks. I solved the problem or I have an idea because of the Muppet stuff. The colors, I don't know what it is about it, but something about it tickles my brain and it helps me come up with, a really creative idea. And so people go, why do you collect so much? And I'm like, because it keeps me in this creative state sometimes. When I'm stuck, I look around, I see something, it triggers a memory or I don't know, it just gives me a feel. And from that, I can make a decision. It's weird, but you probably know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like, especially when I'm doing photos, because I do a lot of toy photography. I've gotten to the point where I pretty much almost exclusively just do Muppet shots.
Yeah.
And I did one the other day of that beginning of the episode where Kermit's got his feet up on the desk and he's seeing Rolf play the piano. I was like, how am I going to do that? Luckily, I had another Kermit figure, so I had to have one of the Kermit figures. I'll show you the photo when we're done here. One of the figures sitting on top of the other one. So this Kermit underneath him is like his torso is flat, but his legs are up on the desk.
Yeah.
Because the actual Kermit doesn't have the articulation to do that.
Yeah.
So I had to stack one on top of the other to make it look real.
That's incredible. And by the way, yeah, you take incredible photos. People need to follow you because I'm not a photographer at all, but you made me want to do toy photography. I'm like, that's so cool. I love following people like that online and seeing. I'm following a lot of people in the Muppet community. I follow a lot of like toy photographers, and I'm like, maybe that'd be fun. I just don't have the eye for it, but you do a great job.
I think toy photography is such a great way to express like how much you love that show or movie, the characters. It's such a great way to express a little bit of who you are, a little bit of your soul. And I think it's a really cool, because I've been doing it almost 10 years now. And I got a lot of tips along the way. And it's funny looking back at my old photos, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I was even thinking of doing that. And, yeah, like kind of like what we were talking about puppet building earlier. It's just a, trial and error type thing. The more you do it, the better you're going to get at it because you're going to pick up, tricks of the trade. And, you're going to figure out kind of like what I did with the Kermit thing. You're going to figure out, like what works and how to pull off certain images and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So,
no, well,
I want to ask you in terms of the Muppet stuff that you have, aside from the Kermit puppet, what are some of your favorite things that you have?
So I have the Diamond Select Muppets. And they came. I love those because I didn't get the Palisades.
Okay.
So I got the little, and there's a little shelf by my desk, and I have a lot of some of them I can't fit on there because you have the feet are too small or like you know what I mean. They don't stand up. So but I have like a Rizzo here, a Sam the Eagle, a Fozzie, and they're in my eyesight all the time. My favorite thing was this little thing I bought from Target back in the day. It was a snow globe, Kermit the Frog singing Rainbow Connection, on a log. And it was just some random buy. And I would have it on my desk for years and years and years. The other day it broke, and it was already faded and stuff, but it fell off the desk. It broke. I threw it away. But I remember that was really, even though it was like a $10 little snow globe, it was one of my favorites. So I think that was just sentimental value. But no, my favorite Muppet collectible is the Kermit the Frog puppet, which I got to do a lot. I have a Knight Rider car I bought a year or so ago, and I want to do, in my mind, I have this idea of getting a jacket for the Kermit puppet, a leather jacket, and taking photos of Kermit as Michael Knight in the Knight Rider car. I think that would be fun.
That's a really cool idea.
So I guess you can put clothes on these things. You can buy like a toddler shirt or something, right? Is that what you should do?
Well, I don't dress the puppet up. However, I have seen some people. I saw one guy. He built the entire news reporter outfit for Kermit. Gave him a hat, built a microphone out of styrofoam. It was really impressive. I mean, there's got to be some way to make that happen.
I got to go on Etsy and find something, and
yes, that's where you need to go. Etsy.
And just see if somebody could build me a little leather jacket for the Kermit puppet. Because then if you have clothes, you could do all sorts of stuff with it.
Yes,
but it's a great replica. I know yours is the one you upgraded to is even more screen accurate, but I'm super happy with this one. It sits on a shelf. I've got a little stand for it. It's just incredible. It sits next to my giant NECA Batmans too.
Nice. Well, and don't you love, because the face is what it's like. It feels like with the Muppets, the face is like 90% of the character.
Yes.
And when you get a really good Kermit build, that is just, it's like I'm over the moon. I can't even believe it.
My nephews are 3. I have 2 that are 3, 1 that's 1. And I've introduced them to, Muppets and stuff like that, but I haven't got to a point. I have a plan in my head where I want to show them watching like a Muppet movie or something, or maybe the Muppet movie. And as they're watching it, I want to come behind with the Kermit puppet and just get the reaction. Because they know I have it, but they have never seen it. It's just another collectible. So I want to see it in action to see what they do. Yeah, I think that'll be fun. But
really cute.
And then hopefully one of them is a Muppet fan. They can inherit from me when I go.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, Lucas, it was incredible meeting you in eLife here.
You.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I'm going to stop the recording, but I'll wrap up with you afterwards. But it was incredible to talk to you, and keep doing what you're doing, man. It's incredible work that you're doing.
Thanks a lot, man. Thank you so much for having me on too. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
This is MZ Now, online at mznow.tv. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/MZ Now.